Good morning. Please let my words speak for you. Standing right here, right now, in this beautiful morning that God has made, I release everything that has come before and everything that is coming after this service, even knowing it will be delicious. And I stand in the present moment, deeply grateful for the day, deeply grateful for my family here, deeply grateful for the smooth, easy flow of the day, and knowing that each and every person will receive just that perfect tidbit of information that they need to take home with them today. Grateful for Chris and looking forward to the knowledge that he will be imparting today. And so I just say thank you, Father, Mother, God, and so it is. Amen.
Sure. Ready to wake up a little bit? Welcome to Mystic Heart, join the celebration. Lift your voice and sing your part. Make this affirmation. Spirit's made us family with loving hearts to share. Together we are joyfully practicing the possible through prayer. Welcome to the Mystic Heart. Join the celebration. Lift your voice and sing your part. Make this affirmation. Spirit made us family with loving hearts to share. Together we are joyfully practicing the possible through prayer. Everything's possible through prayer. Welcome to the Mystic Heart.
All right, shaking it loose. You ready to stand up if you're not already standing?
Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded who we've come to be. We are love, we are one big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah. Let us make a joyful sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Here we stand on holy ground. Let us make a joyful sound. Hey, 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 hey. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Hey, 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 yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah.
All right, we're going to slow things down a little bit and invite you to sing along with, not with that.
I hope not.
Excuse me, I need to give myself a quick guitar lesson.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them spring
fresh from the Word. Sweet the rain's dew fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where his feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the Word.
I'm trying to refrain from talking because I'm not talking this morning.
But she's kind of irrepressible. And that's what we like about ye. So my name's Chris Johnson. I'm your prayer practitioner here, one of your prayer practitioners here at Mystic Heart. And it is my distinct pleasure and privilege to welcome you home to our spiritual community, our beloved community, and welcome home to your own Mystic Heart, where your divine knower lives within you and has all the answers you'll ever need. So right now, if you're comfortable doing so, I invite you to gently close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Allow all that has come before this moment to let go and pass beyond. It'll still be there if we need it later, but fully arrive in this moment. And know within you there's a divine spark. The light of God dwells within you, in your heart. So become aware of that divine spark within you. And then expand that awareness out. And feel the divine spark within the people around you. And spiral out further, including your family, friends, neighbors, the town, the state, the country. And know that each person is a divine spark in that global web of consciousness that surrounds the planet. We are all one in the Spirit, one in the unity of God and with one another. So as we feel that, we know that we are joining hearts, joining our minds, joining our praise and our love together. I invite you now to remain grounded in the truth of who and whose we are as we join together in musical prayer and sing our chant.
is a garden where dreams come true. A beautiful garden where God's grace blooms. There is a garden where everything grows. A beautiful garden where love is sown. And in this place of light and love, you can have anything that you're dreaming of. There is a garden where dreams come true. A beautiful garden, that garden is you. There is a garden where dreams come true. A beautiful garden where God's grace blooms. There is a garden where everything grows. A beautiful garden where love is sown. And in this place of light and love, you can have anything that you're dreaming of. There is a garden where dreams come true. A beautiful garden, that garden is you. There is a garden where dreams come true. A beautiful garden where God's grace blooms. There is a garden where everything grows. A beautiful garden where love is sown. And in this place of light and love, you can have anything that you're dreaming of. There is a garden where dreams come true. A beautiful garden, that garden is you. Such a beautiful garden, that garden is you. Such a beautiful garden, that garden is you.
Mess with my cameraman again. Okay, we're prayed up, we're connected, and ready for conscious conversation. So we've been doing this chant all month long, the garden, and I wanted to look at that. It's the garden metaphor has been used as a metaphor for spiritual growth since the Hebrew book of Genesis in the Old Testament or in the Tanakh, and the Master Rabbi Jesus also used it quite often in his parables. So what is it about the garden that, that inspires so many great teachers? What are some of the elements that make the garden metaphor such a powerful teaching tool? Turn it down a little bit.
There's growth.
There's growth.
Things grow.
God willing, there's growth. What?
Things grow, yeah.
Yes.
There's beauty.
Beauty. Is the entire spiritual path beautiful, though?
No, there's a lot of weeds.
Okay,
The gardener in the group.
we'll come back to that because that's an important part of the metaphor on the spiritual path. Well, what else about a garden reminds us of spiritual growth?
It can feed you.
What's that?
It can feed you.
It can feed you, but first you have to feed it. Yeah, right.
Happens in cycles.
It happens in cycles. Okay.
Oh, what was that?
It takes work.
Oh, it takes work, she says.
It does take work. We, when I was still teaching, we had a teacher's aide that we brought in a big bunch of tomatoes to share with all the faculty, and she said, "You're so lucky you have a garden." I still had dirt under my fingernails. Anyway, so yeah, it does take work. All right, so yeah, New Thought teaches that life is created from the pattern of our thoughts and emotions, whether they're at the conscious level or at the subconscious level. And what happens is Spirit brings our thoughts and beliefs and emotions into form and experience, just the way Mother Nature brings plants into existence from seed. So what are some of the correspondences in the metaphor? What are the different elements stand for? So, for instance, okay, Chris?
The soil in which the seed is actually planted and the way the seed is actually nurtured over time.
Okay, the soil in which the seed is planted nurtures it, and that would correspond to the action of Spirit on the invisible plane. Because once that seed goes into the ground, you can't see it. You just have to take it on faith that it's doing its thing down there. As Eddie Watkins says, you can't dig up a seed to see if it's growing. It's not gonna help your plant much. Okay, so we have the soil, and you mentioned the seed too. What corresponds with the seed in the spiritual path? How do we plant seeds on our spiritual journey?
Thoughts.
Thoughts?
Reading,
What's that?
reading,
Weeding? Yeah.
reading, read, R-E-A-D.
Oh, reading, like spiritual reading? Yeah, good. We'll look at that again.
Prayers,
Again?
prayers,
Prayer,
Meditation.
meditation. Do we ever plant seeds we don't want to plant?
Yeah.
how to
All
say
the
things
time.
that don't.
Okay, yeah. Sometimes we'll have those random thoughts that just kind of blow in on the breeze, like the weed seeds blow into our garden on the breeze. So what is the plant itself? How does that correspond to our spiritual growth? We planted the seed, we've watered it, we've tended it, we've weeded around it.
The manifestation of all of our work.
It's the manifestation, or it's our experience of life. Okay, and if we like our experience of life, it's a tomato or a gardenia or something we like. If it's not, it might be a weed, and we may need to go back in and pull that out and plant some better seeds. So I had a story about a fellow that was not quite ready to tend his garden as well as he might. It seems that Mullah Nasruddin planted all sorts of seeds in his garden and kicked back and waited for the beautiful flowers to appear. And a couple of them did.
Who are you talking about?
Oh.
Someone else?
Mullah Nasruddin, he's a mythical Sufi spiritual leader. So a couple of the flowers did come up, but mostly what came up were a bunch of unsightly weeds and stickers and burrs and all kinds of stuff. And so he said, well, what am I going to do? I don't want this patch of weeds in my yard. So he looked around and he saw that the palace was beautifully manicured, had nice lawn gardens, everything was perfect and beautiful. I'll go ask the palace gardener. So he goes to ask the palace gardener. He says, I planted my garden and a couple of flowers came up, but all I've got is weeds, weeds, weeds. What can I do? The palace gardener thought for a moment and he says, well, are you doing anything to keep the weed seeds from blowing into your garden? He says, well, no, they just blow in on the wind. What can I, there's nothing I can do about it. They just blow in. Palace gardener thinks again. He goes, well, are you pulling the weeds regularly when they sprout up? And he goes, yeah, of course. Well, sometimes I forget for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and they get kind of big, and some of them actually go to seed and replant themselves. But what can I do? What can I do? The palace gardener looks at him, thinks a moment, he says, Nasruddin, I suggest you learn to love the weeds.
Right on.
So here's the problem. We're always planting seeds of thought and emotion and feeling, but are we sure we're planting what we want to harvest? In his letter to the church in Thessalonica, Paul of Tarsus advised, rejoice evermore, pray without ceasing, in everything give thanks. And I wonder if it could have been translated, stay positive and joyful. We are always planting seeds in prayer, so please be grateful. If we stay grateful, can we plant negative seeds? I think not. But if we're unconscious, we may be planting weeds. If we're conscious, we plant flowers, fruits, vegetables, the good stuff. So what are some of the ways we unintentionally plant weeds in our spiritual garden?
By taking
Negative
things
thinking.
personally.
What's that?
By taking things personal.
Taking things personally.
Negative thinking.
Negative, stinking thinking. Yeah. What else?
Judging other people's gardens. Judging other people's gardens.
Judging other people. Yeah.
Their gardens.
Oh, their gardens. Yeah, their manifestation. Well, what's in your consciousness? Yeah, that. I heard that more times than I'd like to admit. How else do we do that?
We reap what we sow.
We do reap what we sow. So that's why we're trying to keep from sowing the weed seeds. How about,
Negative input from our choices in entertainment and
okay,
books and music
so
and
junk food entertainment?
junk food entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah, if we're bombarded by negative images and violence from the TV or from the movie screen, that has an effect on us. What about negative self-talk? We make a mistake, oh God, I'm so dumb. Maybe it's just me.
I don't think so.
Thank you, I feel better already. What about habitual worry?
Oh, yeah.
You have a teenager just got their driver's license. It's Friday night. They're supposed to be home by 10:30. It's 11. Where does our mind go? But worry is just faith used inside out. So it's pretty easy to recognize the weeds in our physical garden, but how do we recognize the weeds that are sprouting in our spiritual garden? How can we look within and see what are the weeds?
My favorite one is triggers.
Triggers, yeah. What triggers us?
Pushing buttons.
Pushing buttons, yeah.
I mean, when people push your buttons.
Yeah, when people push, I like to say, I didn't install your buttons, but I know how to push them.
Good
But-
one.
But where those buttons are, that's our growing edge, isn't it? Somebody says something and you perceive it as unfair to your gender or unfair to your religion or whatever, and you take it personally. That comes back to taking it personally. It might just be the other person's ignorance, or it might just be a lack of understanding. So it does require some pretty rigorous self-examination. What triggers us? Listen to our language that we use. Do we ever talk about Murphy's Law, or do we talk about, oh, there's always a month left over at the end of the money, that kind of thing? And maybe it's just me, but does anybody else self-sabotage? Things are going great, and then I shoot myself in the foot.
I do it all the time.
What's that?
I do it all the time.
Yeah, I think most of us do. Gay Hendricks has a great thing. He calls it, it's like a thermostat. You know, when things get too good, it's uncomfortable for us because it's terra incognita. We don't feel comfortable there, so we do something to bring ourselves back down to
Normal.
normal. Yeah, what we know.
Or what we
I'm working
think
for a new normal here. So what gets in the way of identifying our weeds?
Habits.
What's that?
Habits.
Habits, okay. Yeah, we have some kind of default settings that we run, so rather than responding to things, we've reacted before we have
Yeah,
thought.
They're thought ruts, they're like automatic thoughts. We don't get that distance between when it pops in and when we're already
Yeah,
acting.
they literally are ruts. You know, when you study the brain channels, and the more we do it, the more it's reinforced. Fired and wired, as Dr. Joe says. Did you have one?
I rationalize.
Rationalize, yeah.
I like the landscape.
Well, everybody does it a little bit. Everybody, well, it didn't really do that much damage when the paper blew out of my car or something. I didn't really have to go back and clean it up, but that works on us inside, doesn't it? When we know we've done something that isn't living up to our highest standard for ourselves.
Potential.
Yeah.
I think expectations, when you said highest standard, we have expectations for self and others, and that can really mess us up.
Yeah, expectations.
Perfectionism.
Perfectionism, yeah. Yeah, that's
That's a biggie.
what that.
I said that's a biggie.
Yeah, yeah. Well, perfectionism is just an unreasonable expectation, hopefully about ourselves. Hopefully we're not expecting perfection from the people outside. I think most of us here anyway are much more gentle with others than we are with ourselves. But those are habitual ways of dealing with life and dealing with ourselves. And established habits are very hard to break. There's an author, Og Mandino, wrote a book called The Greatest Salesman in the World, and in there he said that human beings are slaves to habit. And there's only one way to break a habit. That's to replace it with a new habit. Hopefully a healthier one, a more productive one. So once we recognize those thought habits, those emotional habits, those weed seeds that we're planting, how do we get rid of the weeds that are already there? I mean, it's easy in the garden. You just go, pull it out and put it in the green bin, and we're done with it. But how do we get rid of the weeds that are already growing in our life? Chris?
Mindfulness.
Mindfulness. Pay
Paying
attention.
Prayer.
Prayer. Anything else?
Meditation.
Meditation.
Making space.
Again?
Making space.
Making space. Yeah, give yourself some room to grow. Eknath Eastwarren says, slow down. That makes more space for that mindfulness.
Study, spiritual study.
Guided spiritual study. Yeah. Or even self-study.
get rid of the self-condemnation when it happens and just use it as a tool to get better at it
Yeah, get rid of the self-condemnation.
and just shorten the time.
Yeah, and we have to pay attention to our self-talk
Yeah.
in order to do that, don't we?
Curiosity.
Curiosity?
As to why I might be being this way or someone else. Curious about self and others.
Yeah, a free and open curiosity, not not like looking for somebody to blame. Well, my parents made me this way.
Journaling. Journaling. Asking
Journaling,
myself
oh yeah, journaling
questions
is a
and
good way
journaling.
too. All right, so we have the tools, don't we? We have the tools. Takes a deep commitment to rigorous self-examination and a willingness to look at and address the subconscious negativity that just kind of runs within us until we stop it. We tend to think of memories as being static. Well, I remember when I was in 4th grade, but they're still working in there. They're not static, they're active. All those subconscious beliefs and all those hurts and all the joys are also still active in there. So when I
Into the present moment.
yeah, that's the mindfulness piece, tuning in, be here now. And that rigorous self-examination I'm talking about, by rigorous I don't mean beating ourselves up, but I mean just a really honest look at what's going on. As a matter of fact, if you're beating yourself up, it's not really a rigorous self-examination, it's beating yourself up. You know, you're only looking at one side of it. So it's that open and honest curiosity about who we are inside and where this stuff is coming from. In New Thought, we often hear the phrase, well, you know, in New Thought, we often beat ourselves up like that. We say, well, I should be farther along on the spiritual path than I am, but that's just another self-judgment. We hear the phrase, don't should on yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and it's cute, but it's really true. It's maybe things would have turned out different if I had done this differently yesterday. But you can't say I should have done that, because my faith is that I did that because I needed to learn a lesson to get to where I am today. So that's that. If you truly believe that everything works together for good, if you have your faith in that, then it's easier to let some of that stuff go. All right, time to break out the gardening tools. Can you remember, maybe the hive mind here, can you remember all 6 pillars of spirituality that we teach here at Mystic Heart? You don't have to have all 6 to raise your hand. Some of you shout one out.
Prayer and meditation.
Prayer, meditation.
Contemplation.
Contemplation is we kind of lump those in with prayer and meditation.
Celebration.
Celebration, our favorite. I'm going to save that one for last.
Sacred service.
Sacred service, serving God by serving other human beings.
Study.
Study, sacred study. Study of sacred scriptures and mystical writings is really great.
Circulation.
Circulation. Yeah. So sharing our good with others. So let's unpack these guys a little bit. Meditation is really the process of observing our own mind or our own inner workings.
Not hearing you all of a sudden.
There it is.
Okay. Meditation is the process of observing your mind, our minds, or our inner workings, whether mental, emotional, and our relationship. Went out again, didn't it? Okay, I'll just move over to here then. And silent meditation allows us to turn our attention inward to hear what's going on in our below the level of consciousness. I like to think of the subconscious mind as kind of an artesian well, and if we sit long enough in silence and with that intention, then what's in there kind of bubbles up to the surface, and we can see what we're dealing with, and then we can make some new intentions about that. So meditation is one of the biggies. Prayer, practicing the possible through prayer, is our motto, I guess you would. It's our vision statement. Prayer is our communion with Spirit, an expression of our relationship with the divine in whatever form that takes. And there are as many ways to pray as there are human beings on the planet. We teach affirmative prayer a lot, especially when we're trying to change some mental habits within us that aren't working out so well for us. And affirmative prayer is essentially just positive self-talk, and we use it to neutralize the negative thoughts and feelings that we've kind of internalized over the course of our lives. And by doing so, it deactivates those active memories and feelings that are working below the surface in the subconscious, which is like the seed working below the surface of the ground. So, and in prayer we can also ask for divine guidance. There's a I think of it as a prayer meditation hybrid technique called visioning, life visioning, that we use sometimes to find our divine guidance. Sacred study of wisdom literature, scriptures, philosophy, spiritual authors. It's what Ram Dass would call grist for the mill. Gives us something to contemplate in meditation and prayer, and it also gives us language for our prayers and affirmations. Losing ourselves in sacred service takes our focus off ourself and puts it on the tasks that we're doing, on the service to one another and service to God. As those of you that joined us at the retreat know, during our kitchen service, there was something magical that happens when you're working shoulder to shoulder with partners on the spiritual path. That there's no room for negativity. Did anybody get bummed out in the kitchen, Sandy?
Yeah.
I didn't think so. It looked pretty jolly every time I went through. So, sacred service really is a powerful, powerful spiritual practice. And again, we hear people say, well, I'll learn to love human beings after I figured out how to love God. It doesn't work that way. You have to do it the other way around. You have to learn to love human beings, because that is how you love God. And then circulation as a spiritual practice means sharing of what we have generously. And I don't mean give till it hurts. And, and this isn't a commercial for you to start tithing or join the Gracious Giving program, although I won't talk you out of it if you want to do that. But I'm talking about the kind of generosity that recognizes that you are an inlet and an outlet for the divine flow of abundance and good. And so it's just sharing the blessings that you have been given. And as you do that, it circulates. That's why it's called circulation.
And is that time and talent also?
Yeah. It's not just money. Time, talent, treasure, love.
Acts of kindness.
Yeah. The more you give of anything, the more you're going to receive. So. And finally, celebration. Woohoo! Celebration is a natural expression of gratitude. You don't celebrate unless there's something to celebrate about, generally, right? Although sometimes we can celebrate and wait for the good to come. You can't be grateful and indulge in negative thinking and feelings at the same time. It's like trying to ride your bike in two different directions at once. Not gonna work. Okay, so we've identified our weeds and we're removing them. Aha, I'm back. But remember, when you pull a weed, what do you have to do?
Replace it.
What? I think,
Replace it with a different seed or a new thought.
okay, plant something good in its place. All right. Or else the wind will blow in another weed seed and we'll have this, we'll be Nazrootin again. So through prayer, we can plant beneficial plants in our garden. One of the things that we have is what they call green manure, which isn't really manure at all, but it's a cover crop that gives the weed, chokes out the weeds, so there's no place for the seed to gain purchase. But it also holds moisture in the soil and provides a habitat for microorganisms, and it keeps the water in the soil. So we can, our prayer kind of does that. It protects our garden. So is our garden finally done then? We've planted our good seeds. We've weeded the bad stuff out. We've got our green manure, keeping the new weeds from growing, keeping the moisture in. Anything else we need to do?
We
need to reap.
Harvest?
Harvest, reap, yes.
Well, does the harvest come immediately after?
Water it.
Okay, yeah, we need to tend that garden, don't we? We need to tend that garden.
Already did that part.
Yeah, Nazrootin forgot that part, didn't he? So, yeah, we need to tend that garden. And
We need to have patience about tending the garden.
yeah, patience, we need to water it, we need to feed it, pull the weeds that do show up. And then the next day, do it again. And the next day, do it again. There's a few of those watering and weed pulling days between planting and the harvest. But this isn't just a summer garden. I know for years we had summer gardens. I'm off again. For years we had summer gardens, but not winter gardens. And recently we've been going year round. I'm on again, off again.
We love you anyway.
Your garden's not gonna do well.
That's why I have a second watering system over here. Okay, but it's not just a summer garden. We're planting seeds all year long, aren't we? 24/7, 365.25. And so, our life is a continual harvest from the seeds that we're planting, whether we're planting consciously or not. And like in the garden, there's a bit of a time lag. It's a process, as Diana was saying earlier. To paraphrase Ernest Holmes, he says, there is no process of creation, but there's generally a process in creation. And his teacher, Thomas Troward, put it, "My mind is the center of divine operation. The divine operation is always for expansion and fuller expression, and this means the production of something beyond what has gone before, something entirely new, not included in the past experience, although proceeding out of it by an ordinary sequence of growth." So, spontaneous healings have happened. We've heard the stories, instantaneous remission of cancer, that sort of thing. But usually healing or creation is a slower process, and it comes through channels that we've come to expect more readily. We may be praying for greater prosperity in our life, and we find that abundance comes to us through other human beings rather than a bundle of money falling out of the sky, for example. So, it's the goal of the harvest to create a joyful, loving, abundant life. And if that's so, we must be ever mindful of our inner dialogue, ever mindful of our attitudes, our judgments, because we have to keep track of the seeds that we're planting. We have to keep our spiritual vision at the forefront of our consciousness and steadfastly refuse to indulge in negativity. That means we have to watch our minds. We have to have that mindful focus. And I've noticed that when I go into prayer and I say, please let me be mindful of what I'm saying, and when I'm being negative, when I'm falling short of my goal, let me see it quickly rather than when I'm way down the rabbit trail and having to find my way back. Any thought or feeling we have that doesn't align with our vision, we have to drop it. We don't fight it, we don't resist it, we don't do battle with it. We just remove our attention from it. It's like pull that drip system spaghetti line out and cap it, and just let that little spot in the garden dry up, and that weed will no longer live. Without our mental and emotional energy, negativity simply ceases to exist. It's one of my favorite old New Thought phrases is, it vanishes into its native nothingness. And there, yeah, Chris?
I think along with what I'm hearing you say, there needs to be a faith behind the words and the thoughts that you're actually putting into that mind garden.
Yeah.
There has to be a faith in it, an understanding of what you're asking or talking about, and actually believe it, and believe it's possible, and then with that faith, actions get taken.
Absolutely, yeah. We can't just say affirmations like there's some kind of a magic incantation, abracadabra, and my life is great. They have to come from our heart, and in order to do that, we have to believe in our words. So, by saying, I am a child of God, when I first started saying that, I didn't believe it quite the way I believe it now. And so now I can step more fully into that, I think. So yeah. And it's by using your faith that you grow your faith.
A child of God could also be called, that child could be the thought.
Yeah. Yeah, all our thoughts are children of God. They're seeds. Well, children start out as a seed as well, and they grow in the mother's womb, which is a near exact parallel to the garden metaphor as well. So once we neutralize the negative thoughts that may be cropping up, once we focus our mind and our intention and attention on not letting those take root, then the seeds that we have planted in prayer and meditation have room to grow and to flourish.
So I invite you now to, if you're comfortable closing your eyes, take a little bit of a contemplative journey. In order to plant seeds of thought and intention with the harvest in mind, I find little ways to weave the 6 pillars of spirituality into my day. Maybe I light a candle and sit quietly, enjoying every sip of my morning coffee, allowing myself to be present, simply observing the activity of my mind without attachment or judgment. Maybe I spend some time thinking about all the things I have to be grateful for. My comfortable chair, my healthy body, the dog curled up on my lap, the people in my life. I give thanks to my source, knowing that the guidance required to live this beautiful, once-in-a-lifetime day is already given. Maybe I choose some inspirational reading to remind me of what really matters and to open my heart and my mind to new ideas. Maybe I take a walk in nature to connect me to the Divine Mother. Or, if time doesn't allow, maybe I listen to an inspirational podcast or sing along to some uplifting music on my way to work. But this is only the beginning. What quality of attention do I offer as I walk through the day? How do I greet a stranger? How carefully do I listen to the person before me? Do I notice the birds in the sky? Do I laugh at my human experience when I catch myself taking everything very seriously? Do I remember that it is all here for my good? Do I allow myself to be joyful, to celebrate the wins, to be consciously aware that every moment, every breath is a gift? Am I generous to myself, taking care of my body's need for rest, nourishment, and activity, and my mind's need for peace, positive input, and creative expression? Do I care for my emotional body by allowing feelings to move through without restriction? And do I close each day in gratitude for all that has been given, letting everything be exactly as it is, no judgment, no regret, resting fully and completely, replenished by deep and blessed sleep? I invite you to know with me that it is possible to live such a life, one small step at a time. Each of us can choose such an embodied spirituality. We can choose to plant seeds with the harvest in mind.
Well, thank you. That was beautiful. Let's breathe that in for a minute. Okay. So let's review. We are already praying without ceasing, but what are we praying for? If we're not paying attention, our habitual thoughts and feelings determine what we will experience, not what we want to experience. We experience what we are, not what we want to be. But the good news is we can change our mental emotional habits and patterns. We often hear people say, well, it's just the way I am. I grew up that way, and it's my parents' fault, and it's this guy's fault, and that guy's fault, and my teachers. And no, we can change. If we don't like what we're doing, what we're getting from life, we have to change. The old line is, I'm off again, geez. The old line is, if we keep doing what we've always done, we'll keep getting what we've always got. So, but it takes practice, determination, and willingness to change. We'll need to practice our new thought habits until they eclipse our old stinking thinking habits. Okay? Bottom line is that if we want more, we must be more. So, and remember that if we're not willing to put out that effort, because it's not easy. I'm not telling you that it's easy. It takes work, it takes attention. But if we're not willing to do the work, we should just learn to love the weeds.
What's the definition of work?
What?
What's the definition of work?
Of work? In the spiritual path, I think our spiritual work is to stay mindful, do our spiritual study, do our prayer work, do our meditation work, nurture our relationship with Spirit, however we, whatever we deem that to be, and work on that relationship with Spirit. I heard a sermon the other day, and he was talking about prayer is relational, and our prayer work defines our relationship with the Creator, with what is creating our lives. And so our work is to clean up that relationship and make sure it's free flowing and there's not a bunch of junk in the way of between us and what we want to our life to look like, what we want to experience.
When you talk about work in general, it just means the process of getting something done or accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so work by definition isn't hard
No.
necessarily.
No, it just means
Just
that there's
a
energy.
process. Right.
Yeah. So, and it's also been said that work is the highest form of play. It's when you are doing something you really love, you can work and work and work and never get tired. So, it's not that kind of four-letter word.
What kind of physical work helps you do good spiritual work?
On the spiritual path, anything that reminds you of spirit. Some people do yoga. I'm not one of those. Some people do mudras when they meditate.
Mindfully going through any activity that you're involved in is a practice.
Yeah.
Anything that's mindfully done.
Yeah. Chris teaches Tai Chi, and that's a very mindful.
What do you like to do in your life for physical activity to bring about good spiritual work in your life
I like to play music
or work?
for my physicality. You know, strumming and picking, and I play the drums too. And
You also like to take food from the farmer's market to the mission as
Yeah.
sacred service.
yeah,
That's physical work.
it is. So, and it's sacred service. So that is one of our 6 pillars.
But so is washing the dishes, so is tending to your children, if you have children, tending
Yeah.
to your elderly parent. It all takes energy, physical energy,
Yeah.
to do anything. It's if we do it mindfully with a good attitude.
Yeah. You know, even by the physical definition, even turning this music stand is work.
That's right.
Also being kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Because we can be really hard on ourselves, to be kind to everyone and ourselves.
And if our default setting is to be rough on ourselves, then it is really work to stop doing that. It takes a lot of attention, takes a lot of repetition, mindfulness. We got to develop that new habit to eclipse the old one. You're right. All right. Well, shall we join in prayer and allow our hearts, minds, and bodies and souls to absorb what we've spoken? And as my words resonate in your heart, I invite you to accept them as the truth for you as well. So centered on our awareness of ourselves as instruments of the one Creator, we focus on our deep desire to establish a love-soaked world. A world characterized by peace, love, generosity, compassion, and freedom. A world in which poverty, hunger, homelessness, violence, fear, and greed are things of the past. Where all have access to medical care, education, a comfortable home, and creative expression. A world where healthy relationships, dignified work, and a sense of belonging are universal. As we live and act from our highest intentions, we create a world where all people, animals, plants, and Mother Earth herself are valued as sacred creation. A world in which God's unlimited abundance is allowed to flow freely to all, where all are recognized as deserving of all the blessings life has to offer and are free to receive them gratefully. God is a spirit. No feet, no hands, no hearts but ours. As we work together to be the change we wish to see in this world, there is no reason we cannot have such a world. Knowing that nothing can stop a divine idea whose time has come, we come together in consciousness, in prayer, and in service to the creation of heaven on earth. As we speak our powerful word of creation, we affirm that our vision is taking form here and now. We accept it, we give thanks for it, we release it, and we let it be so. And together we say, so it is. Amen.
You're going to probably know this, so feel free to sing along. Even get up and move if you want to.
Love is but a song we sing, fear's the way we die.
You can make the mountains ring or make the angels cry. Though the bird is on the wing, you may not know why. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. Don't try, just do it.
Some may come and some may go, we will surely pass.
When the one that's left us here returns for us at last, we are but a moment's sunlight sparkling in the grass. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together. Gotta love one another right now.
If you hear the song I sing, you will understand.
Listen, listen.
You hold the key to love and fear, all in your trembling hand. Just one key unlocks them both, they're at your command. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together. Gotta love one another right now. Yeah. Come on, people now, smile on your sister, everybody get together. Gotta love one another right now. Right now. Right now. Too many props. Okay. So this is the time in our service where I invite you to join in the circulation, the celebration of the work that we do here in the world by sharing of your financial good if you so choose. If you're attending online, you can go on our website and either find our post office box if you prefer to send a check in the mail, or you can find our donate button and go through PayPal. We also have a gracious giving program if you'd like to make a monthly commitment of support so we can more effectively budget and plan for our growth. And they're off. So if you'd like more information about that program, please let me know. But for now, please join me as we truly feel the meaning of the words of our affirmation for the offering. And As I awaken to the God within me and all around me, I see abundance everywhere I look. I consciously step into that flow of abundance by this act of giving. I offer this gift freely in the spirit of love, blessing and sending it forth to heal and prosper. It is evidence of my deep faith. It does good work in the world and blesses all of creation. I give from a consciousness of abundance, and so it is. Amen.
Well, here we go.
Do an instrumental. Well, the words came out of my consciousness, so maybe they're still in there.
It's called You Must Be Present to Win.
Nice.
Pay for our lives with attention. Life out pictures our thoughts. What's in our mind determines what we find and what
All the masters have taught.
So start with a worthy intention and heed the spirit within. And look for the signs and read between the lines, 'cause you must be present to win.
Spirit moves in mysterious ways, or so the story goes. Count the times I let it slip away. I wasn't on my toes. I thought I knew what I'd need to do, hey, but I didn't have a clue. Big surprise, I didn't recognize it wasn't what I thought I knew.
Pay for our lives with attention. Life out pictures our thoughts. What's in our mind determines what we find.
It's what all the masters have taught.
So start with a worthy intention and heed the spirit within. And look for the signs and read between the lines, 'cause you must be present to win.
Thought I had just a little more time. I didn't do the math. Suddenly it was clear I'd missed that straight and narrow path. So I doubled back and lost the track. Did everything I could. But when I found it wasn't solid ground, I knew it wouldn't be any good.
We pay for our lives with attention. Life out pictures our thoughts. And our mind determines what we find.
It's what all the masters have taught.
So start with a worthy intention and heed the spirit within. And look for the signs and read between the lines, 'cause you must be present to win. Yeah, look for the signs and read between the lines, 'cause you must be present to win.
That's you. Yep. Never mind. I thought it was him.
It's hard when you spend a lot of your time up here. So, just pausing for a moment to express deep, deep gratitude for all of the gifts, both monetary, service, all the different ways in which the gifts come in, and to recognize that as I give, as each of us gives, we receive. And then we are grateful that we can send it out into the community to build and to help. and to help make our lives even better and the lives of our fellow humans. And so I just say thank you, Father, Mother, God, and so it is. Amen. I should have thought about that more.
The reason we're not leaving today after the service is because we have to get our garden ready for April to babysit.
Planted it well.
And the other thing is, even though that we switched roles this morning, I want to assure you that she did the cooking of the food that's next door, so
Well, one
so
dish.
fear not.
Everybody did the cooking. I do want to share one quick thing. Our food ministry on Saturdays is growing. We've added From the Hearth. We're going to be picking up bread from the Hearth weekly now, also on different days, and taking that out to the mission as well. If you want to help, let us know.
Love Soaked World, I can see it.
May your soul always find what it's looking for. May your heart always lead the way. May you live in peace and harmony. And may love always fill your day. May your path be strewn with happiness. May success find you everywhere. May you always embrace compassion and grace. And may God always answer your prayer. May you always embrace compassion and grace. And may God always answer your prayer.
Love be with you. Love be with you.
All together, hand in hand, we see the light, we take a stand, and we are changing. A whole new life for you and me. Take your past and set it free, and share this blessing. Love be with you, peace enfold you, spirit lift you, breathe it in. Truth come through you, make it flow to you, let joy renew you. Until we meet again, love be with you. Ooh, 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 love be with you until we meet again. Love be with you. Love be with you, now breathe it in. Love be with you. Ooh, love be with you. Ooh, love be with you. Ooh, love be with you, now breathe it in. Love be with you. We love you. Have a beautiful Sunday.
Thanks for joining us today.